This is BizPulse with me, Cindy Babi on ANN7. Thanks for joining us. Embattled global retailer Steinhoff hands over all its financial records to FEDUSA and the Public Servants Association. The unions were at Steinhoff's head office in Stellenbosch earlier today to demand a full disclosure of financial and administrative information from the company. Steinhoff has given the unions access to its financials dating as far back as 2002 as a fallout from Steinhoff's accounting scandal in December last year. The unions say they will inspect the financial records to gain more insight before making a decision on possibly laying criminal charges against the retail group.
We managed to get all their financial records, the minutes of all the meetings of the board, including minutes of the AGM, attendance registers, memorandum of incorporations. So basically, all the documents that are envisaged in terms of the Act have been given to us. Now we have access to those particular documents. Now, the process now is for us to look at those documents, study them, and so that we can see exactly what had transpired. And if there were information that was cited in that document that was not truthful, obviously that's what we're going to look for.
There is no one here that looks after the pension fund and investments made via the PIC from Government Employees Pension Fund that's sitting here on this kind of AGMs. And this is worrying. It's not only us that must stand up, but the government should also be concerned that there's no one looking after investments coming from Government Employees Pension Fund. And this is the matters that we are going to follow up, and we will keep on following it up until the moment we are satisfied that things are clear and there is a pure administration of funds.
COSATU welcomes the hearings by Parliament. We welcome all investigations into Steinhoff, and not only Steinhoff, the associated companies where clearly there's corruption, including South African Rugby, what happens to Kobus Becker's links with this company, all of the Stellenbosch Mafia's involvement in the scandal. So we want a detailed investigation into state collusion and the old Broederbond corruption that continues to flourish in South Africa. Well, COSATU is going to be protesting at the Sunmet because we don't want any one of Marcus Jooster's horses to participate in that race. There's a whole industry around the jobs and other stuff, and those people who are not implicated in corruption can go ahead with the race. But Marcus Jooster used pension monies to buy horses and fund this extravagance of his. We want to make sure that his horses are not allowed to participate. So Jooster and Steinhoff as the target, not necessarily the horse racing industry as a whole, because there's job implications also.
We're joined in studio by Adil and Ntshabeleng, Transform RSA President. Thanks so much for your time. Good evening. Good to have you. Would you say that this almost seems like an extension of the state of capture terms and of reference, in the sense that COSATU, FEDUSA, we've seen now with the Public Servants Association, wanting to go back and look at the shenanigans of the Broederbond and how things were done to get to where we are today?
Look, the statement is quite sound, but it really doesn't make much of a difference, because we know at the end of the day that very little is going to be done to prosecute this particular company. We're looking at 380 billion that has been wiped off in terms of the value of the company, over 80% right now, and now there's actually a rescue. What's supposed to have happened should have been a proper criminal charges as well as a proper action taken. If you lose so much money in a matter of 2 days, where the stock market in South Africa, which is the Johannesburg Securities Exchange, crashed and had to be closed for that particular day so that they can save the current losses that were happening at the time. The entire stock market in South Africa was closed. Nobody was told the truth as to why it was closed, because everything was hemorrhaging that related itself to the shares that they were holding and the stock that they were holding currently in Steinhoff. So these are the issues that we need to bring to the fore.
But the global
PIC
nature,
is just one of the losses that happened in the process.
Yeah, but the global nature of these companies, that they have their interests and tentacles in so many markets and stock exchanges, very sophisticated accounting systems, and trickling down to various industries. We know that Steinhoff has also got a list of other companies around it, that it may not just be an easy prosecutable case to do.
It is quite easy and very simple to prosecute. The South African Johannesburg Securities Exchange has a regulatory framework that speaks very clearly about what happens to companies that are actually not working according to regulations. One, they should have already instituted a probe by now. We should have already understood for the last 2 months as to what is the status of what really actually took place. Nobody has been given the information as to what actually happened on that fateful day where the stock actually tumbled to losing 80% of its particular value to 380 billion. So that particular question cannot just be left alone. The South African JSE currently, which is the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, has gotten away with one of the most amazing corruption issue that has never been attended to. If this had happened, particularly in the government of South Africa, and a particular government department lost on a single day 380 billion, this country would have been turned upside down. But nothing of that nature happened. Here is government money, particularly sitting in PIC, which is an investment stock which was actually placed into this particular asset. Steinhoff loses government and pensioners' money. And this country didn't go into a riot. And yet we've seen many of the demonstrations that has happened in South Africa over all other allegations of corruption. But yet here, there is a major issue of allegations of corruption.
But the impunity impunity is explained in the sense that they're too big to fall, as we've seen with KPMG or even in the banking sector. You know, say you can't necessarily, even if these were implicated in currency fixing, you can't necessarily prosecute or investigate further because it would disrupt the economy.
You know, I made an earlier remark when we were talking about Steinberg. I said South Africa does not as yet have a prison built well enough for white people. It's as simple as that. We're talking about a privileged class that does not have the capacity to go and withstand the harsh conditions. If you're talking about Mark Jooste, you're talking about a circular network of people who are highly protected in South Africa, who have gotten away with a lot of impunity, and nothing has ever been done to prosecute them over the other allegations. Remember the accounting irregularity that is cited as the mishap of what happened within Steinhoff was one of the issues that actually caused one of the most corrupt as well as fraudulent activity. Steinhoff didn't lose money. A lot of assets were released out of Steinhoff and actually taken out of South Africa and all the other entities globally and were actually sent into offshore accounts. Why are people not saying, let's follow where the money went to? Not necessarily where the losses happened, because money has been removed. Assets have been removed. The balance sheet has been stripped of its particular net value and asset, capital as well as cash. Where was that cash and capital and asset value sent out into? Why are we not probing those particular accounts?
Yeah, and I mean the ease with which we know that the interim results had been delayed, if you want to call it that, and that Deloitte not having been able to issue the Steinhoff results as well. In your view, why is it the handing over the documents such a nonchalant exercise with the unions in
Again, you're dealing with the big five companies that have always had the culture of protecting one another. I mean, Deloitte was supposed to have been vigilant in this case. What did Deloitte come out and say? Deloitte gave out a speech. It says that whatever they have done in their best ability was the information that they had. But we know that they were part of the cooking scheme that actually produced the results, which is the financial results that were produced on an annual basis. So the annual results, as well as the income, as well as expenditure of the company, the assets of the company, Deloitte knew very well that there was a huge amount of transfer of critical assets and capital and cash out of the company. Not only that, those financials were submitted on an annual basis, on a regular basis to the JSE. What did the JSE do in terms of probing from its own security regularity perspective in looking into this matter? Before we even go further, the issues are sitting particularly with the current big five dominant firms in South Africa, and the Johannesburg Securities Exchange is at the heart of this particular matter. Because here, if you were in the US, by now you would have seen these particular executives being arrested by what is the Security Regulation Authority in the country like the US, where they know exactly what needs to be done. They know how to probe, they know how to follow in terms of fraudulent activities, and instantly the FBI, all of the other sort of criminal prosecution authorities in the US would have now arrested these guys. It's unfortunate it's in South Africa, whereby when you have a matter of this nature, you lose 380 billion. You instantly become an overnight celebrity. I mean, Mark Jooste is known by everybody. His horses are racing on Sunday. And all that the unions could do and really worry about is how they're going to stop their Met race on Sunday. I mean, that's not going to make a massive difference. We're looking at the massive, colossal corruption and fraud that has happened.
Yeah.
And
do you think that could, that we'll see a ripple effect globally as well of this retailer? I mean, we know with the Viceroy report that had brought to light the supposed accounting irregularities in the country had been under investigation in Germany as well.
Exactly. I mean, the Viceroy report now has been ridiculed. And some people were even actually giving insinuations that the firm itself does not have credibility and everything. But yet, it is the same report that actually sent out the warning signals across the globe to say that the particular asset that people are investing in, which is Steinhoff, was actually doing irregular accounting, which means they were shifting and stealing money out of Steinhoff and taking it out into offshore destinations and putting it out into some of the Panama-like as well as Channel Island-like entities and parking it there. So the money was not lost. The money was stolen out of Steinhoff and the assets were ripped out of Steinhoff and were never returned to the company.
Yeah, but you're saying with the unions going there to retrieve some financial statements, it's really much ado about nothing.
How are you going to do it? You're going to read financial statements and then what? You're going to come to a conclusion that there was fraudulent activities. If you do find any in the financial statement, you have not even yet assessed the analysis of the capital assets that were taken out. We're talking about cash and capital, which was removed out of the company. Books you can cook. Most accounting firms specialize in cooking books. It's not a new irregularity. We know how they come about making sure that they can evade and they can actually balance books in such a way that you cannot find a mistake. The issue here is what are unions going to do in their own capacity to take on this matter and prosecute on it and lay criminal charges and find the individuals that are involved, particularly the net shareholders who were responsible for one of these biggest fraud, and get them to be prosecuted. Let's talk corruption on an equal basis, not on an exclusive basis.
All right.
In this case, Steinhoff is an exclusive case. He's been treated with kid gloves, and everybody else is throwing a big birthday bash for the colossal corruption that they've achieved.
All right, Adil, we're going to have to leave it there. Adil Nchabeleng, Transform RSA president. And we do apologize. We weren't able to get hold of Dennis Georgia from Fadusa and other guests as well due to the telephone lines being out. And so we try, of course, to give them a right of reply as well. We move on.